What's up guys, welcome to Talking Poodoo, a Star Wars show where today I am reviewing Star Wars The High Republic Mission to Disaster by Justina Island. Now, before I get into this review, I want to point out a key thing here. I did not read this book. This is a young reader's book, but I actually listened to it as an audiobook. So that's a very different production from the book, a very different experience. It is just a spoken word version of the book, but with sound effects and music and score and everything like that, and the main narrator doing the voices of the characters and so on and so forth. So again, a very different experience. Just be aware of that I am reviewing the experience as much as I am the story. But speaking of the story, what's the story about this time? Well, Evon Staros, the daughter of Jira Staros, the senator, has been kidnapped by the Nihil in a recent attack. So Venestra and her Padawan Imri go on the search to try and rescue her and find out what the Nihil are up to this time. It's a very straightforward story in that regard. Venestra and Imri are still trying to figure things out as a master and Padawan sort of duo, and Evon Staros is now trying to forward her life basically and figure out what she wants to do in life, what she's good at, and which side of things she wants to fall on. And that's the story in a nutshell. What did I think of it though? It's enjoyable, it's fun, it has some really cool moments in there, but it is a young reader book. It isn't filled with a huge amount of depth or detail, and it doesn't always feel essential to the High Republic story being told in the main novel series. So it is a little disappointing in that regard, but it's a fun little side adventure. And the main reason is that not a lot actually happens. I've actually just described the whole story there. Evon gets kidnapped. Venestra and Imri go in search. Guess what happens? They rescue her. Spoiler, but let's face it, you knew that was going to happen. And that's kind of it. It's very straightforward, very basic story being told, just in Star Wars The High Republic time period. It feels almost like an episode of what the Clone Wars would be, just in the High Republic instead. But there are some cool, fun moments in here. Evon, we do get to see a lot of her interactions with different groups of people. So we see her interacting with different prisoners, different people who've been kidnapped, and we see that she does have skills and knowledge and smarts of her own. She's a bit more mature than what she was the last time we saw her. And she has aged a little bit as well, which helps in that regard. But it's interesting to see how she is dealing with her life progression. What's next for Evon Staros? We see her interacting with the Nihil, and almost at times it feels like she's being indoctrinated by it. Almost. I think there are moments where she's definitely considering it or thinking about it. And if you've read Star Wars The High Republic The Fallen Star, you know that her family has a very interesting relationship with the Nihil, to say the least. That's not mentioned yet. There are hints of it here, but yeah, clearly Evon Staros does not know about that stuff. So that'll be interesting to see what happens progressing further from here, seeing how that develops. But yeah, it is cool seeing Evon interacting with the Nihil, seeing how different Nihil have different skills and groups, and she gets to show off her smarts, she gets to show off her engineering, her knowledge, and how useful she can be, and that's really interesting. Sadly though, about halfway through this book, things do slow down. This is when Venestra and Imri head to a planet which they feel is connected to what's going on. Only it's not immediately clear how connected things are. So it almost feels like Venestra and Imri are being sidetracked and pulled aside at it. Only, as it later turns out, in predictable fashion, no, what they're doing is actually really quite important. You just don't realize it. But at that point, it kind of feels like, right, that's a bit coincidental. Venestra and Imri go on in this search on this planet which has a very loose connection to what's happening, but it ends up being really major important. It's like, yeah, okay, we kind of saw that coming. But yeah, at that point things do slow down because they do kind of get a sort of different side mission. Their search for Evon does slow down, and instead they go on this little quest with the Jedi located there and the local government who are wary of the Jedi. And this is actually really interesting stuff to see how that certain species and groups and governments and people are not as keen on the Jedi. Some of them mistrust the Jedi a lot. Some of them blame the Jedi for some of the bad things going on. A bit like a Batman Joker situation, like, would Joker exist if it weren't for Batman? Who knows? And that's kind of what they're dabbling with here in certain limited ways. And that it's really interesting. I wish they kind of push that forward a bit more. But yeah, a lot of the stuff on this planet, beyond the themes in the background, isn't super interesting. It does feel like the Venestra and Imri are kind of just lingering there for the sake of stretching out the story until Avon stuff does become relevant to that planet. So yeah, that's a bit disappointing. But ultimately what this book is doing, what this book is establishing for the future of the High Republic, is introducing new Nihil characters. We get new Nihil villains introduced. The fact that I can't name them off my top of my head says a lot about them, but yeah, there is a new Nihil villain who we actually have heard name dropped before. We get to see them, we get to see their key henchmen, one of which is always being referred to as someone who's going to eat people, even though they never do eat people. So yeah, is that an actual thing that this person does? I don't know. Another one is a bit more of a cyberpunk character, and this scientist doctor character who is body modified all the way up to the chin, it seems, and yeah, a really peculiar character that I don't think quite fits into Star Wars. If you've seen the Book of Boba Fett, there are modders in that show and there are cyberpunk connections to that show. Well, this is doing that as well. So yeah, it's an interesting character, but we don't spend enough time getting to know them, and that becomes a bit of a problem. I think this character is going to be very important in the future though, and it'll be interesting to see where this character goes and how interesting this character becomes, because right now, on a visual level, it's cool and interesting, but there's not much beneath the surface besides them being a bit crazy. But yeah, ultimately I think that's what this book is going to be known for, as the introduction of these new villains. How important they'll be remains to be seen. So let's talk a bit more about the characters. Venestra and Imri are the main characters for the most at the heart of this book, but at a certain point they go their separate ways. Venestra stays on this planet while Imri goes to Starlight Beacon, and yeah, why do they separate? It's a little unclear. Imri is given a task to do, he goes and does it, but yeah, it would be nice to have them together rather than being separate. Although it is interesting to see Imri perform without Venestra there, because so much of the time with Imri has been with Venestra. So I understand why they would separate them, because it is a new dynamic for them, but it's not quite as interesting. A lot of Venestra's time in this book is spent trying to come to terms with the fact that she is still a young Jedi Master of sorts. She is very young, she is just learning herself, and she's coming to terms with the fact that no, her age is irrelevant, her experience is irrelevant. She is a Master, she is training as Padawan, so she needs to step up. And yeah, she's constantly trying to figure that out. And that's somewhat interesting, but again, we've seen that already in the books. It's time, I think, for Venestra to just settle down on right, what's next. But Imri is also going through an experience in that he's got very unique Jedi abilities, in that he can alter the mood and emotions of certain characters and ease certain characters' pain and just calm them down a bit. It's a really interesting Jedi power, and I think this book does a really good job at conveying that and showing when is it right or wrong to do that, because not everyone would welcome that power, not everyone would want that. So they do a good job at debating this issue of the use of his powers, and Imri does eventually get to grips with when is the right time to use it, or should he even use it. But one of the frustrating things about this book is a lot of the characters featured in this book are connected to other characters in the High Republic and other stories going on in the High Republic. This is an issue because it makes everything feel a little small scale. Why does everyone know each other? Why does everyone know certain Jedi over here or a certain person over there? It just feels like there should be a larger universe or galaxy of characters here. This is Star Wars. And the same way in which the TV shows and films are struggling a bit is that everyone knows each other, and it's bizarre. There are billions of characters in this universe. Why not introduce new ones instead of just connecting all the ones that we used to currently know? Because it's odd. So I've already touched on the new villains a little bit. They are a bit generic, like pirates or terrorists. Closer to terrorists in this book, to be honest. And hopefully in the future, if we do see them again, they'll be fleshed out a little bit more. But yeah, interesting on a visual level, but not much more than that. So some miscellaneous points, mainly going to touch on the fact that this was an audiobook that I listened to. The voice acting was good, the narration was good. It's worth saying that the voice actor was female, and I can't remember the name of the voice actor off the top of my head. I will look it up and post it beneath me right now if you're watching the edit. But yeah, she does a really good job at capturing the voices of certain characters, but because she's a female and there are a lot of male characters in this book, there are some weird moments when she's trying to put on a male deep voice and it doesn't quite work. It's actually a little weird and odd and funny in certain ways. So yeah, that's one of the weaknesses of doing a audiobook, and that the narrator has to do all the voices of the characters, whether they're suited to certain characters or not. So yeah, a little odd, but you do get used to it, I suppose. And yeah, it can be a bit distracting when you've got a woman with a very fair, light voice trying to do a deep man's voice, and it's a bit weird. But otherwise, a great job, because she's very eloquent, very clear. You know exactly what she's saying. There's no like mumbling or anything like that. She speaks at a really good pace as well. But one of the things that I really want to touch on is why this book was released after the High Republic, The Fallen Star, because it actually takes place before it. It leads up to that event, and it doesn't even like hint at that event happening much either. So my big question here is, why is the High Republic being released in chunks? Why are we getting the main Fallen Star book very quickly followed by this one, then very quickly followed by Midnight Horizon, the next young adult book? Which, spoiling that book a little bit, that is also set before the Fallen Star. So why are we getting the main one and then two young reader ones which are set before it? Why not release them chronologically? Because neither of these books are spoiling the Fallen Star. So yeah, it's interesting. This, I think, would have been a lot better had it came out before the Fallen Star, because heading into it, I was under the impression that it was at least going to cross over with it, and it didn't. So it's a bit disappointing that the events of the Fallen Star are completely irrelevant here, for the most part. So yeah, the way that they're releasing them right now doesn't seem important to the actual series of events that's happening. So there's no need to release them in chunks. There's no need to release them out of chronological order. With Midnight Horizon, I can understand why they're a bit more, but that's a different book. We'll get into that at another time. And yeah, overall, that is Star Wars: The High Republic Mission to Disaster. I read this as an audiobook, not a young reader book. I believe the young reader book also has some images in there as well. They usually do anyway, so I can't talk about them. But yeah, fun, entertaining, a little inconsequential though. I like seeing Vanessa again. She's one of my favourite characters in the High Republic. The exploration of Avon Staros and the new Nihil villains was somewhat interesting, but I just wanted a little bit more from that. Overall, I enjoyed this, but you know, I could have done without it. I wouldn't be missing much, and I don't think anyone will miss much if they don't read this book, except maybe the introduction of certain new villains who, as of now, who's to say how important they're going to be. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not bad, but it's not essential Star Wars by any means. And if you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to my channel to get more content like this, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_GrantBird. Until next time though, thanks for watching.